Well, hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the FutureSox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me this evening is Mr. James Fox. How are you, James?
I am great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Got some really exciting news this morning, that Hagen Smith is going to Winston-Salem this week. So that's some good stuff. Really looking forward to seeing him, especially after seeing those videos, which we'll go over in a little while.
Yeah, it was weird that we got videos of like the final bridge outing.
Apparently, yeah.
And I didn't know, you see the nasty change or whatever, we'll talk about it, but I didn't know if that was like his first bridge outing, like how many, you know what I mean? Like we just have no timeline information at all other than, yeah, the pitchers are ramping up and they expect to pitch at an affiliate, but I mean, clock's ticking a little bit, like on pitching at an affiliate.
Yeah, there's not much time left in the lower levels, and then there's just a little bit of Double-A, and then a couple extra weeks of Triple-A, and then that's it. So
Yeah, it's not, and it's something like we kind of talked about off air. Like I know we didn't want him going right to double, right, and we kind of thought that Canny might not be challenging enough. But the issue is that Winston doesn't have a playoff team. If it's does the math work for 2 starts in Winston and then potentially playoffs in Birmingham, or would it be 3 in Winston? Maybe, I don't know.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, so maybe 3 in High A, and if he looks great for 10 innings, and they deem that he's got some more, he joins the Barons. I mean, it's that's like where the innings are available.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously I don't know what kind of pitch count he's going to be on, but I had this conversation on Twitter just a little bit today in a couple of different places. That the White Sox generally tend to follow pitch counts and up and down, how many times they get up and down in a game. And I can't, I understand why he wouldn't go to Canny, because it's entirely possible that he could hit 30 pitches and be through 4 innings and just do that routinely. And they probably want to extend him a little bit farther than that, I would imagine, on his pitch count. So it would make sense.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see, like Merck, said the plan is for next Saturday, apparently. How are you going to figure out what to watch? Noah Schultz or Hagen Smith on Saturday? My goodness. But no, I'll just be curious to see how long they let him go for. I think, didn't it say did he go 3 innings in the bridge?
I don't know. I think
okay.
so, I don't know for sure. Okay. I thought it might have been 2, actually, now that I think about it.
So who knows? Like if it's 3 innings, if it's a pitch count, whatever. I think we just want to see him at this point. I mean, obviously he's super highly ranked, even though he hasn't pitched at an affiliate, obviously, but he just did what he did in the SEC. MLB Pipeline ranked or released their latest, which we will definitely get into. Yeah, exactly, blank name. So the Sox have the top 2 left-handed pitching prospects in baseball, which means Hagen is 2. So that's pretty impressive already for not having pitched at all.
Yeah, ridiculous. What is he, like a 32?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he's like in the 30s everywhere. Now, I will say, I listened to the MLB Pipeline podcast recently, and they basically said this is the weakest top of a 100 ever. Basically, it's really tough because they put 13 or 14 drafted guys. Like James Tibbs is on the list from the draft, which is really uncommon to take that many.
Yeah.
But if you look, there's not that many pitching prospects. They had 15 pitching prospects fall off the list basically. Yeah. And then you had a bunch of graduations, and obviously you have Holiday 1, but he's going to be off the list, So I just feel like there's not that oh yeah, these guys at the top are definite superstars, right? It's just kind of good players up there, good prospects. But I mean, when you're Marcelo Meyer, I think is way up there. That's he's a good prospect, but I don't know. I don't know that he's a superstar.
I don't either. I find that when they talked the specific podcast, if you guys do not listen to the MLB Pipeline podcast, I would highly recommend it. A lot of good information, and especially when the White Sox go to do trades and you want to figure out who you want, it's a wonderful. There are a plethora of wonderful podcasts out there that will give you some ideas as to guys who you're looking for in these kinds of trades. But this recent one with the MLB Pipeline, where they were discussing how little pitching is on the top 100 now. It's like it's a low for them all time, I believe they said. It's kind of one of those things where, the White Sox do have several that are in the top 100. But it kind of makes you wonder, like in a normal time, where would these guys rank? But these guys are all really good, so I don't think you really have to worry about it per se.
Right. I think when they're ranked as highly as they are, it's fine. Right. If you had like a couple of guys in like the 80s and 90s, we might be able to be like, okay, maybe they're not that good, right? But I mean, these two guys are aces potentially.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, and then you've got Grant Taylor as well, which he's got like this, from all things that we've heard, what is a little lat injury that they just want to really baby him on. He's also really, really good.
And he's supposed to pitch in the Arizona Fall League, and he'll, that's the type of showcase that he needs, I think, personally. And then, like, Jairo Iriarte made the Just Baseball list. He hasn't made anybody else's, but he's right there, like, as the next guy at Pipeline. He's 5 at Pipeline. So, I mean, look, I don't know that he's done what people have necessarily, like, thought he could do necessarily. Like, the strikeouts are down, but he's racking up innings. I think he can definitely start. So that's something. He's much bigger than he was before. So Jairo Iriarte and Taylor probably the next two guys, the most interesting. And then, your guy Mason's in the top 10, man.
Yeah. So did you happen to catch what Iriarte did today?
I was following along, but I don't know that I saw like till the end.
Final stat line. Yeah, I think he went. He went 6 innings. I think he only gave up like 4 hits and struck out 5. Walked, I think maybe 1.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
The other pitching performance in that game was the one that we were more focused on.
Oh, yeah. So for those of you who were not paying attention to the Barons today, it was Jairo Iriarte versus ex-White Sox draft pick Matthew Thompson. Matthew Thompson in the second inning started off the inning with a hit by pitch, gave up 2 singles, then walked 2 or 3 guys in a row, and then was taken out of the game. It was ugly. Jairo Iriarte, like you said, the Ks are down. But the thing being, to me, it looks like the command is getting better. He's not walking as many guys. So maybe that's kind of coincides with the fact that he's not striking as many guys out because he's not going over the top and overthrowing his pitches.
Possibly. Would you rather have like the for sure starter or like the high strikeout, high walk guy that probably ends up in the bullpen? And then you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of bullpen risk with him. I think like the Padres were even like starting the transition, I think. And the White Sox were like, no, we're gonna grab him and start him. So it's a little bit off topic. Can you pull up the question from Josh? Joshua Nathan Strong.
Yes.
So Josh asked just about Caleb Bonham, and we've kind of heard a lot about him. I know Elijah just was out, and White Sox personnel are just really excited about Caleb Bonham, and I guess rightfully so, right? They paid him number 29 pick money, $3 million, so you better think he's pretty good. So Josh asked if he's similar to Nolan Gorman as like a comp. So I don't really think so. So I think Bonhamer's better defensively. His hit tool's better, and I don't think he has as much power as Gorman does. So I don't know. I know Joshua a little bit. We've talked for years. Find a better comp, I guess, like that you can throw at me, and then I can think, because I can't really think of one. Like Gorman, like from the high school side, it makes sense. Like from the standpoint that they both struggled during the high school season, and they had like a premium history. Bonham, like, I think might play shortstop though.
He did. I don't think that's. I thought that they planned on sticking him at third base. Was the
right
impression
away
that
they're
I
going
got.
to?
I
Maybe.
thought so.
Okay. Yeah. So okay then. So then it won't be. I don't think it's going to be Nolan Gorman power, but it'll be a much better hit tool than Nolan Gorman, I think.
So, yeah, it's like when you start making these comps, it's really difficult, because we can sit here and say, oh well, he comps out to this guy, and I mean, I'd say he's definitely got a better hit tool. Technically, if you were to, like put them on parallel planes than Nolan Gorman, and I don't think he's got as much power. But I mean, ultimately, like when he, starts ascending through the minor leagues, who knows
Yeah.
what we're gonna have?
Well, it's hard to think of one because he's like fast too. It's like plus speed. So it's like really tough. It is really tough, Josh. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have like a great one either. And then there's a question from Jack too. I thought this was interesting too.
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
We're gonna go through their list so we can wait if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just bring it up.
But I just think looking at his stats, like I don't know how anybody leaves him off.
Yeah, I think that when you look at, I mean, obviously, like the thing is got to be just because it's complex league, right? Like that's got to be the only reason
Yeah.
why.
Well, and yeah, I don't know. I mean,
And he is short, but the
very
pop
short.
is real.
Yeah. And obviously, like, so White Sox recent international track record, not great, right? I totally understand not ranking him after an awesome DSL season. So we're talking about Javier Mogollon, where he hit 10 homers and he was really good. So if somebody this year was like, I don't really trust DSL stats, I'm not ranking him, that I would totally understand.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
he comes stateside and basically did the same thing. I mean, he had some rough, like some rough starts, but I mean, like the OBP and power seems very real. I mean, it's definitely second base only, and he's not a great defender, but I mean, the bat's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know like what Marcus Semien was doing at the same age because he went to college.
his power spike didn't hit until he was gone from the White Sox. I want to say,
yeah,
from what I remember from when he was in the system, like there was power there, but it wasn't like you weren't expecting like 40 home run season out of him.
No. When they traded him, I was like, okay, like I had no idea that they like made the mistake that they made.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Super chat. Stefan Bardo says thoughts on what will happen with Elko. Are we seeing a call up?
I mean, look, nothing would shock me, right? But he's like not on the 40, and it would require you to not play Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets anymore. So my thought would be he finishes in Charlotte. They non-tender Gavin Sheets, and he's in big league spring training next year with a chance to like make the 2025 White Sox.
Yeah, that's
tough. I don't know. Do you disagree?
Yeah.
I just like.
I don't know that I necessarily disagree. I just like the way I'm looking at this is we know what Gavin Sheets is, and we know that that's not good enough. We see Andrew Vaughn also has not been good enough. I don't care what his draft stock is. He has not been good enough. Like the power has just been like it lies dormant for so long. And then it finally, peeks its head out for like 2 weeks and then disappears again for a month. Like, I mean, not saying that Elko's had great success this year in the power category. Certainly not like it was last year. But then again, he's also been in Birmingham, which we know how that goes, that it can tend to sap a little bit of power out of even the best hitters,
Yeah, he's been great at Charlotte. He definitely understands the assignment of going to Charlotte. Like this is. What do you think about this one from Jack? Is that crazy? So here's the thing. Like Bregman out of high school, like this kind of makes sense a little bit, right? And it's the high, like, do I think he's going to be Alex Bregman? I have no idea. But if he goes to, like, the thought is if he goes to Virginia for 2 years, he's going to hit well enough to go in the top 10, which is why you take him where you do at 29 and pay him $3 million, right? So
yeah.
So if he goes to Virginia and he's one of the best college infielders in the country, like he's going really high in 2 years. So yeah, maybe that type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, because he has speed, he's got some power, and his hit tool's good.
Yeah.
I know that Bregman's gone through a bunch of different mechanical changes over the years that have kept his numbers up.
Yeah.
I mean, can Bonnemer make those adjustments to continue to, press those kind of comparisons? I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
who knows, right? But I mean, so that's the reason though why I like taking prep position players in that range, like 20 to 50, because you're buying a guy out of a college commitment who has thoughts of going and, being Dylan Cruz in 2 years, or, like on the high end, like they think they're going to go and be awesome in school and, whatever. And then they decide to take the $3 million and turn pro. So, I mean, look, he's definitely one of the more exciting position players in this system. Like we don't have any. So, I think the most interesting thing is, like, to me, is he advanced enough for them to send him to Canny next year, or does he play rookie ball? My thought would be rookie ball, but who knows? He's gonna he's gonna play instructs, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard rumblings and what are the Elijah's piece that he put out, that the scouts are looking at him and saying that he looks like the real deal.
Yeah, like very advanced.
So
White Sox are very excited.
it's entirely possible that we see him in Canny. I mean, different time period in the way things were going and who was setting up the systems. But I mean, Montgomery and Kath both started the season in Kannapolis. So, I mean, it's possible.
Or maybe even if he's on the Wolko plan, it's like 10 games in the ACL and then Canny, whatever.
Yeah.
Like where they determine that the work he needs to do is not going to be done here, which was basically with George, right? It was like, okay, this guy needs to get challenged a little bit. If we leave him in Arizona all year, he's not going to work on any of these things that we think he needs to work on. So they sent him to Canny and challenged him. Maybe it'll be similar.
Yeah. So
hey, there's our guy.
We got Rony Hernandez and Wes Kath snubbed from the top 30. Does this surprise you?
I was a little surprised that Pipeline didn't rank Rony because they've been on him. Like they were one of the first major publications to rank him. So
yeah,
I'm hoping we talk to Callis in the next couple of weeks. We can ask him about it. The one thing I like that they did is they went upside at the top, right? So full disclosure, like our list is not done yet. When it's done, you guys will know. But I mean, as long as like I have a big say in this process, like I'm going to push for like the highest upside players at the top of lists just because like that's how I feel. So Grant Taylor, George Wolkow, those types, I feel like some publications just have Wolkow way too low. And like, I don't get it. And like me and Ian have examined and dissected and discussed all of the shortcomings. Like I get all of it. I understand the K rate. I understand all that stuff. But like, if you want high upside, high impact guys, like I don't think it gets much higher than that in this system. I'm not going to rank a number 4 starter over George Wolkow right now.
No. Yeah. See, like that's my whole thing is that, when it comes to these things, when it comes to these top 30 lists, like I'm of the opinion that I would rather push somebody else into the top 30 that isn't anywhere else just simply because, like I don't need to rank somebody that we've seen in the system for 5 years and we know at this point, like we're looking at somebody that might be marginal, unfortunate, but the sad reality. I would rather push somebody that is ascending or at least appears to be making a push to push themselves up into those lists, So
yeah, no, I mean I totally agree. I mean I think it's like I just think the upside is I'm glad Pipeline did it because I wasn't sure anybody was going to. I thought we were going to kind of be out on an island, and obviously, look, our list isn't out yet, and you'll see, right? But
yeah, I mean,
once you start getting past 4 or 5, I mean, it's like it's a no-brainer for me.
So, moving along in some of these questions here,
Yeah, there are a bunch of interesting ones.
There are. So, from blank name, he says Roni should be on the top 30 list. We do not disagree. That is where we are at as well. Where is the next one? Would you rather
this is the one I wanted. Yeah.
keep Sheets or Vaughn?
No.
There's your answer.
No.
No.
And I can't choose death.
Yeah.
I don't. So here's the thing. Like, Sheets to me is an obvious non-tender. Like, if they don't do that, I'll be stunned. Like, they'll keep Vaughn, but like, it's time to move on. Like, I don't think he's in any jeopardy of like being like released or something. But like, they clearly need more at first. If you're gonna be bad anyway, like, do they have him on the team? Maybe. I'd prefer they do something else though.
Yeah. I'm there with you. I'm just kind of tired of this song and dance. Like, we've seen, unfortunately, I think we've seen where things are. And I mean, you could chalk it up to how you have seen some of the guys that have left the White Sox and how they have kind of, their production is kind of bumped up a little bit. It's entirely possible that if Andrew Vaughn was to go to, I don't know, the Yankees or, like those trade rumors that we were hearing around trade deadline time, or possibly somebody else, whoever, just insert whatever team you want to talk about. It's entirely possible that he could go there and his numbers could become a little bit more respectable. I just don't know that I would bank on it, and I don't think anybody would give us.
Yeah, I mean, what would he have to do for us to even like feel regret? Like, he's not gonna hit for power, and he plays first, man. Like, it is what it is, and like, I mean, maybe he goes somewhere and the hit tool is better and he like gets on base more, but like, I don't see some 30 homer masher coming just because he goes to like a better hitting infrastructure. Like, he's just not that good.
I think that if you were looking, like, if best case scenario for him, if he was to get traded somewhere, is that he turned into Kevin Youkilis. Best case scenario, high OBP, learns how to take walks better than he does now, and can sit there and single and double and nickel and dime other teams to death. That is best case scenario, I think, for Vaughn, which is not what the White Sox need, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think one of the big issues with Vaughn is like, it's the same thing we're seeing this week where the rumors come out about the stupid rules about making pitchers go 6 innings, like, and you always hear like, how do you make baseball more interesting? And I don't know if you and I have had this discussion, right? But what do you do? Like, and to me, the root of the problem is very simple and it's not fixable. Pitchers are too good. Like, pitchers are awesome. It's impossible to hit. And you can't string hits together anymore. Like, it's 1994. So teams have decided that like strikeouts and walks are fine if you can like run into one and homer. And yes, maybe the game suffers, but like, until you make pitchers worse, I don't know how you fix it. Like,
you said 1994, and I can assure you that that is 84.
84, fine.
Sure, yeah, 94. You're already like 6-7 years past like when McGuire and Canseco broke into the league and started injecting all of the steroids.
But they're still bad relievers then, though. Now everybody throws 97, like, with nasty sliders.
It's true.
Like, it's just guy after guy after guy, and you're like, oh, why can't we hit? Well, I wonder. Like, it's insane. Well, I don't know how you fix it. I really don't. Like, pitchers are great.
Goldilocks baseballs. I think that part of the issue is that Manfred and company are trying to make it more of a small ball league by making the balls a little bit softer. And I think that that's not what they're trying to achieve isn't achievable by doing it the way that they're doing it, because it's not having the effect of more base hits. It's just more outs.
Right, exactly. Like, guys aren't hitting for as much power. but it's still impossible to hit good pitching where you're going to string together 7-8 hits and knock a guy out of a game, right? So like neither thing is happening. And like that's what I said like last year. I was like, yeah, you can change the shifting rules and do all this other stuff, right? But until there's like not fire-breathing dragons on every team coming out of every bullpen. I mean, other than the White Sox. The White Sox bring out Dominic Leone and teams are like, "Oh, great. This is nice." But no, just in general, you know what I mean? Like it's
well, I mean, like the thing is that you go and look at the AAA roster and you got a bunch of relievers that throw 98 miles an hour and can get guys out, but they still bring out Dominic Leone, who is now out for the year with a UCL, and they'll probably end up paying him next year because he's still out with a Tommy John. You know,
did you see your guys up? The guy you brought up,
which one?
Gus Varland.
Oh, Gus Varland. Yeah, he's up. Yeah,
he's on the big league team.
He got some outs. You know,
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up this one. This one is this is going to be an interesting conversation here, I feel. So Slade asks, Colson Montgomery has an 86 WRC plus in Charlotte where everyone mashes. He's a fringe shortstop. Is there a chance he just isn't a big league regular? Because if he isn't a shortstop, he's bleh prospect, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
He's definitely a big league regular. He might not be the star that we thought. But it's also tough to decipher. And Ian, I know you like had concerns for most of the year, but not the same concerns that were like everybody else had publicly, you know. Do you feel any better, I guess, after being around there, hearing Chris Getz talk about him, all those sorts of things? Because it seems like mentally like the kid is fine. And he's like working on specific things. I'm not privy to what those specific things are. He's got doubles, he's got homers, he's still walking. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not good enough. But the White Sox think he's a shortstop. So he's playing shortstop. Like whether he's good at, whether it doesn't work out and he moves to third or something eventually, like could happen. But like he's playing shortstop.
Yeah, that's like kind of where I'm at. I mean, like I'm not ready. You know, there's even if you look in the comments, you know, like there are people that are ready to give up on Colson Montgomery already, and I'm definitely not there. I think that there's still some stuff he has to work on, and expecting a high school kid to just, you know, go from last year where you had like that nasty oblique injury that, you know, didn't let him start until June. And he didn't really have a whole lot of success in AA for Project Birmingham. Didn't have a lot of success in AA last year. And then, you know, we said this from the outset that sending him to Charlotte this year was a super aggressive assignment, and we wondered how it was going to work out. And I think that, you know, now you're looking at, and if you guys are you guys watching us on YouTube after this is done, hop onto our page. I uploaded a bunch of shorts on YouTube. There are a plethora of shorts of guys talking about the difference between AA and AAA pitching and how they feel that they have to attack it differently and like what they're seeing that's different. Expecting a kid to go from advanced A, which yes, he did kill last year, sending him to AA and watching him struggle a little bit in AA, and then knowing that he's struggling, then sending him to Charlotte is like expecting, you know, like, you know, somebody who like runs up, you know, like a little hill in your town to, you know, climb up Mount Kilimanjaro and expecting him to be able to just do it because he's been climbing hills. You know?
Yeah, and I think like what, he had a 129 WRC plus in Birmingham, but he hit 244, right? So, and he was hurt. Yeah, I mean, neither one of we were both surprised by him starting in Charlotte. Now look, I think the most important part of like his future and the profile is whether or not he plays shortstop, because even like if he's a 250 hitter that hits 25 bombs and walks a bunch and plays short, I mean, we've talked about this. I mean, he's like a 4 WAR regular, you know, like maybe he's not, I feel like we do this every week, right? But like maybe he's not Corey Seager, but I mean, that's still a really good baseball player. Like, even if he's, like hit tool deficient, but he walks and has power and he's okay at short, like that's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just, it's kind of, like, I can understand where people are coming from when they heard the expectations of what Colson Montgomery, when they hear the Corey Seager comps, if he doesn't reach that level and he's instead, like a pretty good hitter, and serviceable, I mean, if that's what the ceiling is, I mean, it's not what the bill of goods that was sold, and I understand that.
When he came into the year as like a top 10 prospect in baseball everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see like the Kylie McDaniel top 100, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, and I feel like like the struggles that you kind of talked about, I feel like those things were happening like at the same time he was like moving up prospect lists, like simultaneously. It was like, whatever small concerns you might have had in Birmingham about Colson didn't seem to like affect his prospect rankings at all. Cause it was like, oh, Colson's really struggling. Oh, he just went from 30 to 18 to 8, like on prospect lists.
Yeah. But now he's starting to drop a little bit.
Right. Maybe into the range that he should have been in the whole time.
Fair enough.
I don't know, like.
Yeah, no, that's a fair thing. Just wanted to bring up the super chat. Peyton Lowry, $1 from Peyton Lowry. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up because this is something that we talked about off stream earlier when we were going through the.
I was wondering if we were going to ignore all Jacob Gonzalez questions.
No,
yeah.
How bad was the Gonzalez pick? Seemed like it set the Sox back years.
So here's the thing. I don't think it's that significant, but like, it's not good. I mean, you're talking about a draft class that has Grant Taylor and George Wolko in it, and some other guys that might like save you, right? But if that pick is Aiden Miller or even Braden Taylor or a guy that you feel like could be a big league regular, plus, Grant Taylor and George Wolkow and some of the other stuff they did, like, then you're talking about like a pretty good draft that you stacked onto the 2022 draft that looks pretty good. I just look, there was a lot of shenanigans in that first round last year. We've talked about them like ad nauseum. The White Sox guy was Blake Mitchell. That's who they wanted to take. That's who Mike Shirley wanted to take. The Royals took him at 8. There were a lot of questions about Blake Mitchell. High school catcher. High school catchers never make it, right? But Blake Mitchell mashes, and he's raking right now. And I think once Blake Mitchell wasn't available, the front office at the time decided, okay, we're going to cut a deal with a college guy. And, Gonzalez was the one that they chose. I mean, they signed him for $3.9 million. They saved $600,000 on Jacob Gonzalez, So
yeah, and I mean, like they also, like the guy that went right after Blake Mitchell, Chase Dollander, which the White Sox had his brother playing in their system. I'm pretty sure that was probably another guy that they were interested in. He's absolutely dealing for the Rockies.
Yeah. Hurston Waldrop, I had heard he's really struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, like they just weren't, for whatever reason, like the front office at the time decided to not take a prep guy other than their top guy, who was Mitchell. So yeah, I don't know. It's not great.
Yeah. I mean, they could have, I mean, I'm just like throwing out names here at this point, but I mean, Brock Wilken, very good, Wake Forest, third baseman. He's been hitting, but and Colt Emerson also was a little bit farther down the list as well. I mean, there are some guys in that first round that they kind of, gave up on. I mean, Dylan Head, who from Homewood Flossmoor, who is, one of the top Padres prospects. I think he's got like a bad hip. Is that right? Had like hip surgery or something.
Yeah, I think so he got traded to the Marlins.
Yeah.
And then he's missing the season with like a hip injury of some sort. But I mean, like you didn't even have to, like, I would have went prep, obviously, like, but like you don't even have to. Like, you have Braden Taylor sitting there, like, I wasn't a fan of Enrique Bradfield, but I mean, like, you got a whole bunch of different ways you could have gone, and like you take a guy who you have to completely rework the swing because you like the makeup. Like, I get it, but he has just really, really struggled after, Jacob Gonzalez was pretty good in Winston-Salem. Like, we said very nice things about him, but Double A's been rough. And, it kind of reminds me of like when White Sox prospects used to go to Birmingham to die, this is kind of, Jacob Burke, similar, yeah, it's not great, but hopefully they can salvage that class with like some of their other picks that they've made.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and jump us back in this conversation because we kind of just skipped through all of it. The top 100 MLB Pipeline White Sox prospects, you have Edgar Caro at 63, Hagen Smith at 32, Colson Montgomery at 28, and Noah Schultz at 15. As we mentioned earlier, the two top left-handed pitchers in the entire top 100 are Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith. Just wanted to throw that information out there because it is in the title. So I figure since it's in the title, we should probably at least mention the top 100 and the re-rankings here.
Yeah, and I know some publications still have Drew Thorpe ranked, which makes no sense to me.
It does not.
So the way we do it, we're in line with MLB Pipeline. 50 innings pitched for pitchers, 130 at bats for hitters, or 45 days active on the big league roster. Those are the three stipulations that make you like rookie eligible. For whatever reason, Baseball America and a couple of other publications, they don't acknowledge the 45 days active. They only acknowledge the other two things. So their list will be different than others. I don't really know why I didn't ask. I could have, I guess, but yeah, it's strange to me. So, MLB Pipeline has the White Sox system at 11 without Thorpe. Kylie McDaniel had it at 8 with Thorpe. So, who knows?
Yeah. So is there anything shocking out of the top 30 here that when you take a look at the re-rank by MLB Pipeline, is there anything that like sticks out to you as something that you either A, think is crazy, or B, you're like, that's right, this is what I've been talking about?
Yes, I mean, I kind of like the top of their list, right? Where they went with Grant Taylor and George Wolkow really high. Now they have Iriarte 5, which is a little safe, I think. And, they go Taylor Wolkow, which I think we're probably going to be similar. Nobody else has Wolkow this high. So, we kind of talked about that already, but that was something that really stuck out to me. I was happy to see. I guess there's really no, I mean, like Nick Nastrini fell, which I think is not necessarily noteworthy at this point. Like, he's had a tough year. Jake Eater is like way down at 23, which isn't too surprising. And then I guess like just a couple of guys that are like Sean Burke is on this list. Tanner McDougal is still on this list. Juan Carella is on this list. So it just seems like they went like a little bit safer than Rony Hernandez and Javier Mogollon. So yeah, I think those two guys being left off are like, what if there's snubs, it's those two guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they've got Peyton Paulette still on there, which, if you watch the first half of this season, when he was starting, that did not go well. Now, seeing him out of the bullpen, on the other hand, I don't know whether it's that his, quote unquote, his stuff is ticking up, or whether it's a mental thing, or like what the deal is here. But if you guys have not seen what Peyton Paulette is doing in relief appearances in Winston-Salem, do yourself a favor and go and take a look at his stats in the games where he does not start. Guy has been phenomenal out of the bullpen. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really curious, like going forward, if that's the role, or if they did this just to kind of dial him back, like for confidence purposes or whatever, But I mean, look, some of these guys are going to have to be relievers, like they just are. We talked pre-show about all the number 4 starters that they have in their system, right? Like some of these guys are going to be pitching out of the bullpen.
Yeah, some of them are going to be out of the bullpen, and some of them are going to get dealt to teams that do not have number 4s just coming out of their ears for bats. At least that's what I would hope for anyway.
What do you think about Aldrin Batista deserving to be top 10?
I don't think that he deserves to be top 10, but I could see him in the 10 to 20 range if somebody was bullish on him, you know. He's looked fantastic in Winston coming from Kannapolis.
Yeah, and
I saw his last Kannapolis start, and he was real good. And then in Winston, he's been really good as well. So,
yeah, and like I get it. Oh, I don't know, Alec. You're gonna have to
oh, here we go,
you're
Alec.
gonna
I
have to
thought we were
you're gonna
friends.
have to fight somebody. No, so this is what I'll say, right? Like I talked a lot about ranking for upside, right?
Yeah,
And Bautista definitely has it. But
yeah,
I
that's fair.
do think you get to a certain point on the list where like certainty does matter, right? Like I can't justify like a Kai Bush down at 17, 18 when like we're watching that guy pitch in the majors right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
that's like I don't know that Bautista pitches in the majors. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you have all these pitchers that are like in double and triple knocking on the door. It's really hard to not just stack all of them, you know, whatever, in like the 9 to 16 range of the system, like before you start taking upside chances on guys that like don't have innings loads built up. So I get
yeah,
it. Like Bautista keeps doing this, like he's gonna climb.
yeah.
But
That's
it's a little
fair.
soon. It's a little
That's
soon.
fair. All right, so here I'm gonna address this here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like eat a sandwich, I think, or something. Yeah.
All right, so Batista way more upside than Adams. Okay, so how many guys do you see that throw 96, 97 miles an hour and they strike out some guys in A ball? But then as they start ascending, those Ks start coming down and their command isn't good enough that they become tertiary relievers. There are hundreds of them littering the highway on the way to Major League Baseball. What you do not see is guys that have immaculate command that still can go out and strike out 10 guys throwing 93 miles an hour. Does not happen anymore. So I'm just going to throw that out there that is my thinking on that whole thing is that he just gets outs. That's just what he does. So yeah, he doesn't throw
Yeah.
97 miles an hour, which I guess says that there's more upside, but I've seen so many of those guys come through. What I have not seen is guys like Mason Adams. So
Yeah. And honestly, like I think Mason Adams has more upside than the guys that you cluster like with him, I think, right? Like, cause he just like makeup matters, command matters. And here's the thing, like, I think me and Ian were both like a little bit down on Jonathan Cannon. Like as he moved through the system, we were like, that's a maybe number 5 starter. You know, like if he were a prospect, we would not have ranked him that highly. And some of the changes he's a friggin' mid rotation big league starter.
yeah,
So and
he's just great.
I have no reason to doubt that Mason Adams can't be like in a similar bucket. Like I told a buddy of mine that loves, you know, like Steve Peredzinski that writes over at Sox on Tap.
He is
Like
not.
yeah,
I'm going to bring this up here
he
real
will.
quick.
So Steve,
Adams,
go
no.
ahead.
It says Adams is like Thorpe, and Thorpe is starting to get figured out. Completely different pitchers. Completely
Yeah.
different.
I kind of said that, you know, like Steve really likes Jonathan Cannon, right? And I told him, I'm like, well, you're gonna love Mason Adams. Like you're gonna have to join the, you know, join Ian on the
Yeah.
bandwagon. But like, yeah, like if that's the type of guy that you like, that's what this is, you know. So yeah, I get it. Like Mason Adams is gonna be top 10 everywhere in this system.
I just like good pitchers,
Yeah.
and the guy's a good pitcher, you know? So
I mean,
I don't.
yeah. I mean, I've even given up like I've ranked Jake Eater highly because of like the tantalizing upside. But I mean, look, man, like he's 26 and has to pitch better. Like
Yeah.
I can't keep like hiking Jake Eater above guys that I think he has better stuff than just because he's got better stuff than them. You know, I mean, there's a chance that Jake Eater all of a sudden is a setup guy, a really good one. But like, you
Yeah.
know, like that could happen like any day, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like my whole thing when people, I'm not lumping you into this, but like the thought that, oh, this guy, he's having problems starting. He's a reliever. I mean, if you can't get outs, you can't get outs.
Right.
And part of the problem with Eater is, and I'm not entirely sure like what's happened within the last year, or actually like 6 months, I guess. The put away pitch for Jake Eater has not been a put away pitch.
No.
Like I don't know what's happened. Like there are so many like 9, 10, 11, 12 pitch at bats that this guy has had. And if you watch his outings, when he has one of those at bats, like things start coming off the rails afterwards because I think that he kind of gets worn out a little bit. I think that they need to get in with him and work on some of the out pitches here,
Yeah, and I thought it was weird that like so Brian Bannister goes into Birmingham, works with him, and says like, "Oh, I think we like really unlocked something in a bullpen session," and he's been awful like since like basically like
Yeah, it's not been good. But like the thing is that like I see the pitch and the pitch looks good. Unfortunately, like it's not equating to outs or
no.
quicker outs,
No, and sometimes that is a thing, right? Like in minor league baseball, it's like, okay, yeah, they legit they worked on something. They had these 4 bad starts, but the 4 bad starts are the reason for like success later. Like there's all sorts of stories like that. I just don't, this time it's just kind of like, okay. Like the like he's just old, It's tough to and it's not really even his fault. He's like been hurt. He was a college guy. It was 2020, like all that stuff, right? But at some point, like you run out of time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, and I was like one of the top supporters of Jake Eater after the Jake Berger trade. And it's, a lot of people were angry because it was Jake Berger that got traded.
For sure.
Um, to me, like I didn't care about that piece of it because he wasn't doing anything on the White Sox. And the upside for him was great, but I mean, it just hasn't materialized. Question here
You want
from
to take beefs?
Beefloaf. Yeah.
Yeah,
It says, is the reason we are mostly seeing Brooks Baldwin at second base instead of shortstop because of that commitment to Colson being a shortstop in the future? Your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I was hoping that they would play Brooks at second or at short so that they'd play Lenny and Sosa at second all the time. Because
He
those
was
guys
there today,
because
but
those guys matter and
Nicky was
Nicky
there.
Lopez does not matter.
What is he still doing here?
At all.
I'm
So
just saying.
beef, I don't know, probably. Like I think Baldwin like is ultimately like a super utility type anyway, probably. Like if he's your starter at second, like I like him, but I don't know if that's a great outcome. But I mean, yeah, I would have him playing more shortstop. I would hope the reason isn't as convoluted as like, oh, Colson's gonna play here anyway, but with the White Sox, who the hell knows?
Yeah. Um, Alex asking where Lucas Gordon is. He's in Winston-Salem with the
Yeah.
Dash.
Yeah,
That's where he is.
so like the Lucas Gordon thing, I just like think this is your typical like college lefty that carves, a ball. Um, and we'll see. Like, like if he has a big league future, that would be a little bit of a surprise to me, just because.
Yeah.
And look, like he was signed for $200,000, like out of Texas. Like draft bonuses generally matter,
Catching strays over here.
So I don't know. I don't really think Lucas Gordon's a prospect personally, but
Yeah.
that would be great if he made the majors somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, like, I knew that that's exactly where your answer was going to go about Lucas Gordon, and that's exactly where my answer would go. Is that he is an advanced college pitcher that against guys that are younger will carve them up, but he'll have I mean, not 100%, but more than likely what'll happen is as he continues to go up, he's going to have a much harder time getting guys out like he gets them out now, and his walks and other issues will not work out well. We were actually talking about this before the stream.
Yes.
What do you guys think about Davis Martin?
If Beef is still listening, I think he'll be enlightened by this. I joked with Ian before the show that the White Sox will trade Davis Martin for multiple prospects at next year's deadline after he, pitches like a number 3 starter basically in the Eric Fetty role for the, until then basically, because that changeup is nasty and
So
he looks pretty freaking good, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've been posting videos of that guy since 2021, I want to say, and I've always been a fan. And that uptick in his that little uptick in his velocity, really played off of his curveball and his slider really well, and it's kind of gone up. And that changeup is just absolutely filthy. So,
And did you see the story behind it? Like, I know Dylan was like tweeting about it, and then James Fegan like asked Davis
about the kick change.
Yeah, like the kick change. It's like super interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just the movement on it. It's an unusual one, especially when it's coming in at 90 miles an hour. Usually the guys that really have success with their changeup is that there's a massive disparity in the velocity.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's got like 6 miles an hour difference, and it's just devastating. I mean, it looks like a split finger fastball, but it's not coming in at like 97 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy where the stuff like returned after Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. No, it definitely came back. Yeah. Yeah, he had no the thing that I worried about with him is because he's been such a command guy his entire pitching career. He's been like a command guy, and then that extra 3 miles an hour on his fastball really made everything just kind of pop that much more. He did not lose any of that command. It's still pretty stinking good. I know that Beef will enjoy this. Why is Vaughn so unathletic and fat? Dude needs to take his career more seriously. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
We are not huge supporters of Andrew Vaughn.
Hey,
so,
did you notice? So you said you listened to the MLB Pipeline podcast this week.
Yeah.
When Callis was talking about Moises Ballesteros and of the Cubs, so he's like the catcher that rakes for the Cubs, and
but he's 5'6".
Right, he said 5'7", and there's like some catching concerns, right? And Jim is like, well, he's great, but like I don't know that he can play anywhere because there are no 5'7" first basemen. And I'm like, yes, there are on the south side of Chicago.
Oh man, catching strays all over the place. So Hagen Smith.
Yeah,
I want to bring up this video because we haven't, we talked about it initially right off the bat, but I just wanted to go ahead and bring this up here. So earlier this week, Chris Welsh, if you guys do not follow him on Twitter, his Twitter handle is on this video here. I went ahead and threw his ad on here on this video, but he was nice. He lives out in Arizona, and he's nice enough to post some video of Hagen Smith in the Bridge League out in Arizona. And what he showed in this video is that, yes, his slider is still absolutely disgusting. And he just, in Welsh's words, he just bullies people with the slider, which that's a great word for it. But it also showed that Hagen Smith, his changeup the profile on his changeup has changed, and it's looking pretty nasty. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that video up. No audio. So here he is with the slider, just striking out guys. Nobody can touch this thing, and this has been a consistent thing from his college career to now.
And the fastball's 98, by the way, too. So
and the fastball is 98 as well. Just threw that guy. Is just going to throw this guy 3 straight sliders. The guy is not going to even touch one of them. Insane. And so now this is his changeup. Nobody's hitting that. Like, it's just absolutely disgusting. I'll go ahead and bring that one up right again real quick. I mean, when you pair this with his 98-mile-an-hour fastball and his slider, which is just absolutely disgusting, I mean, now you understand why you're looking at the second-ranked left-handed pitching prospect in baseball.
Well, and I think some people, that weren't huge fans of the pick, right, would often revert back to the like 2-pitch thing, like, oh, well, he needs a third pitch, and like the thing is, like in the SEC, he just didn't. He didn't need a third pitch, and like the White Sox know he needs another pitch. Like he's got a changeup very clearly. He just didn't throw it because he didn't have to.
Well,
And we joke about the cutter, and I'm sure he'll add that too because he's in this organization now, But yeah, I mean, it's not like he. I also had somebody mention like, oh, it is the bridge league. I'm like, I understand that, but it's not like he's getting by on 93 with like decent breaking balls. Like his stuff is disgusting. Like this is ridiculous, and we're gonna see it, hopefully next week at Winston-Salem.
yeah, he is slated to get the start on Saturday, per my understanding. I think a bunch of the big time journos are saying that. So
they're on the road though, aren't they?
yes, they are in Aberdeen. They are playing the advanced A team for the Orioles, the Ironbirds.
All right.
Yeah, so
Orioles. I mean, it'll be a good test because the Orioles guys are similar to Milwaukee, where they take a million pitches and they're annoying and they're tough to get out.
Yeah, Cubs team as the Cubs minor league teams as well. It's just like there's a bunch of disciplined guys on the team, and it's really annoying for pitchers. So we'll see how he stacks up.
Right on.
So final, not necessarily final thing. Does Sinibaldi get a start? I don't know.
I mean, it's weird with the college starters. Like he's definitely a starter going forward, but it's kind of just like all about innings with guys. Like sometimes they have the college starters just come in and really. It just depends on how many innings he can throw.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and I had it somewhere. Hold on one second. Let's see here.
There's also a question about Nick McLean. It should be anytime now, and either Canny or Winston for Nick McLean. He was getting ramped up. His season ended early, but yeah, you would think it would be soon.
Yeah, and we'll see where he ends up, but rumors going around with us is
stop it.
All right. So going also getting promotions here as of the last day or so. We're hearing Aaron Combs, 8th round pick, 13th round pick, Pierce George, 14th round pick, Justin Sinibaldi, and an undrafted free agent, Cleet Hartzog, which has one of the best names in baseball. Those guys are all going to Kannapolis. And that's from Elijah Evans. If you do not follow him, go ahead and give Elijah EV8 a follow on the X/Twitter. Also, our Dan Victor says that Tyler Davis, Carson Jacobs, and Luke Bell are all going from Kannapolis to Winston-Salem. So there is some movement down in the minor leagues, and there's some interesting stuff going on.
So Pierce George, the most interesting, obviously. Mason Miller type like upside on the very, very high end, and like could never make it past Winston-Salem on the low end because he just doesn't throw strikes. But this is the type of guy who, just like didn't get a chance to pitch in college because college coaches can't have you walking people. It's a little bit different in a developmental system. So he's the guy I'm the most interested in seeing. Combs is too good for Canny. He won't be there long.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now on to the last thing here that I have charted on the list here. So the international scouting and Chris Getz, you have heard some rumblings.
Yeah. Yes. You want to continue, or do you want me to start?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, so I mean, I'd heard rumblings that they're like not happy, which is obviously, and then we see them like cut all Marco Patty's players. The White Sox obviously have multiple high-level hits on the international market to the point where I think a lot of people would say like, "Oh, the White Sox are really good internationally." But there's just like a lot of things that they haven't done. They don't sign Dominican teenagers, like their facilities aren't great. They never spend at the top of the market on teenagers, that sort of thing, obviously. It's a huge problem. When Chris Getz came in, apparently he was telling writers like Eric Longenhagen, we have to change this. Like we have to do better, right? And then it wasn't one of his first objectives, obviously. And look, I think there's lots of people have issues with Chris Getz. Like I get it. Something I've said multiple times, like not the hire you or I would have made, but look, this is one of the main things I'm looking for this offseason is if they revamp this international scouting operation and hire like an actual director and they do something on the hitting side, I'm going to feel a lot better about what happens going forward. I had heard rumblings. James Fegan actually like put it to paper and sourced it, basically saying, the White Sox are expected to make changes. How soon? I don't know. I don't have names. I don't know who who does well on the international market, but like, it's just so, I think it's a job for a younger man for sure. Right. And if they hire somebody from a team that's like had some success and he sounds good, like great. It's got to be better than what they're currently doing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Go ahead and bring this up here right quick because this is a thing that is going on that is new. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. There it is.
Some breaking news.
Yeah, Anthony Hoopy Tuionatoa is getting promoted to Charlotte. So yes, the rumor is true. So another reliever for them to for Pat Listash to use in Charlotte, and we'll see how that goes.
Do they need a guy because of Arland?
I mean, I would imagine that my guess, with Leon going down.
Now they have Daniel De Los Santos too, right? So
they do that they just picked up from the Yankees. So I don't know.
Maybe somebody else is coming up. Who knows?
That's my guess is that somebody's going to get snipped here in the near future. We'll see though.
All sorts of candidates in Charlotte for the big league bullpen.
Do you have any thoughts on Alec Makarevich?
Corner guy that hit well in the ACC. He's really old for a prospect. If he does well in A-ball, I won't be surprised.
Yeah, no, he's been hitting the ball pretty well the last week. So we'll see.
I can answer that other one really quick. Ralph's.
Let's see. Where are we? Here we are.
Yeah. So they have $995,000 remaining in their pool. They have until December 15th to spend it. That's one of the issues that I'm talking about. Like they just shouldn't have money left because you should have commitments. And in the past, the White Sox have said like, oh, there's nobody, we didn't have anybody to sign, so we traded it. And it's like, okay, but like
why do you not have somebody to sign?
Like you should have already had these commitments made. So look, they've done a decent job of like they traded money last year for Aldrin Batista. My thought is they'll do similar this time because there's really not anybody like on the current market that you're going to sign by December 15th. So hopefully the prospect they trade for has as much upside as Batista does.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing is that the Dodgers can't sign the Imanaga or whatever.
They need money, and the Yankees have been actively like trying to scoop up money too.
Yeah, they've already done it once, correct?
Yeah. You can trade for 75% of your pool, so either team could trade for all of the White Sox money if they wanted to.
Yeah, we'll see. If we can get an Aldrin Batista / Maximo Martinez deal for $1 million in international money. I'm all for that.
Well, it's better than It's better than not spending the money,
or spending it on giving $1 million to a 25-year-old Cuban guy. Like, what kind of dividends has that paid thus far? Hasn't worked out at all. So
I know there was like a prominent member of the former front office that loved the idea of close to the majors Cubans. I don't think the current front office feels similarly. Now, look, like for a Moncada type guy or something, it's different, right? But like your Cespedeses and Colases of the world that cost like half of your bonus pool, it just doesn't really make much sense anymore.
Yeah, do we know if Uelke is even playing anywhere at this point? I don't even know. Maybe the Mexican League, is that
I think
right?
I think he's local. I think he's the Dogs or somewhere.
Yikes.
Like local indie, I think.
Yeah, Gilbert Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm not going through them all. It's bad. It's really bad. And it's one of the reasons why they're going to have a new international director, and it's going to be a good day.
Yeah. Speaking of another interesting thing that would be that we are looking forward to this offseason is a hitting czar of some sort, which is another thing that we are certainly looking forward to.
And hold us to this. Like, I don't think either of us are going to come on here and be like, that's a great hire. Like, I just want a hire. I and I will trust them that it's, like they hired Brian Bannister. They hired some other people that I like. Just make the hires and like create these departments that you've been lacking forever. And I'll be like, great, you hired a guy from the Orioles. Fantastic. Like, and that's probably all we're going to know about the guy, but make the moves, like make the changes, keep bringing in people from the outside.
What did you think about the Astros letting go of their international guy?
It was the Marlins. But it was
the
long time Astros guy. Right. Yeah, like if that's the guy they hire, great. Because there's a track record there. He's been great, like signing pitchers like Framber and all those guys for like really cheap. He's very respected in the industry. If that's the hire, great. But I'm sure there's a bunch of guys out there that would love to run the White Sox international operation because it can't get any worse, and there's only 30 of those jobs.
That's true.
Beef, I could have done an hour. I can,
So to answer this, what about Fajardo? He's in my top 30. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, look, they get a guy every year. They got Mogollon last year. Fajardo's really interesting, but I mean that's a $400,000 or $500,000 Venezuelan pitcher. I mean, you should be able to do that every year. It's just it's not. Hope. Yeah, like there's no high. And look, next year there is a high profile signing. There's Alejandro Cruz. He's out of Cuba, but he's only 17 supposedly. So, that's fine. Cuban teenager, fine. Cuban 23-year-old, not fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, like this is something that we've talked about and we've debated on this podcast before, that we don't know what the directive was towards Marco Patti, whether this was, if that wasn't the idea of how the international system was supposed to be working, and that's what Marco Patti just decided to do, I mean, then obviously it's 100% on him. But I mean, ultimately, because we have no idea who to blame for anything up until
yes,
now.
It's like a mob family. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now we know we're blaming Chris Getz for everything. Sorry, Chris, but everything is your fault, regardless of whether you made the decision or not, because you said that you're the guy.
100%. So now you're the guy. And yeah, I mean, if Jerry like isn't willing to pay for scouts like in the Pacific Rim, and he's against like agreeing to deals with 14-year-old Dominicans, like they're probably screwed regardless, right? But I'm going to blame Chris Getz if they can't do that stuff.
I mean, we can talk about this for probably hours about how stupid this system is, that some people can go out and sign 14-year-olds and hold them to deals when they're 14. I mean, the system is broken and stupid.
That's gross. It's gross.
No, there's no arguments here, but the White Sox are worse at it than everybody else.
Right. It's a huge problem.
Yeah. You got anything else for this week?
No, I think we're good.
All right. At FutureSox on X/Twitter, FutureSox.net. You can find all of our written content. Soon you will be able to get the FutureSox Top 30 update. It should be coming out here within the next week-ish.
Hopefully, yeah.
Or so. We appreciate you guys. I just want to make it known that everybody that's hanging out in the comments, everybody that listens, we appreciate you guys so much. You guys make us, you guys validate this by hanging out and listening to it, and we appreciate you guys a ton. So for all of our written content, go ahead and hop on there. If you are listening to this in podcast form, which you can find anywhere you will find your podcasts, know that also this is done live on YouTube and on twitch.tv/FutureSox. My name is Ian Eskridge at Daily White Sox. He is James Fox at JamesFox917. We thank you guys so much. You guys have a great week, and we will catch up with you next week. Thanks. Have a great night.